I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the car before we get started. So it's a Mark 3 Golf. It's had an engine conversion and it's running the R32 3.2 litre 6-cylinder turbo engine out of the Mark 4 Golf. So this is a four-wheel drive chassis. It's got a really trick transmission that's built just purposely for drag racing. It's a 4-speed sequential dog box, and it's also got the advantage where Rene can select 2-wheel drive for a burnout and then 4-wheel drive for a run down the drag strip. So the engine runs on Q16 race fuel and it's controlled by a Link G4 Extreme ECU with an AEM CDI ignition system. The turbo on it's a precision turbo, and last year when I had it on the Dyno we found that we were running out of both turbocharger efficiency and also cylinder head flow. That being said, we still made some pretty good numbers. The engine was producing 750 horsepower at all four wheels on 2.2 bar. What we found though with the smaller turbo and the head not being able to support the flow and the higher RPM, the power was just dropping away. This year Rene's gone a bit crazy with the car. He's fitted a much larger turbo, he's had the engine apart, freshened that up. He's also fitted a set of larger cams and he's had the head CNC ported. So what I'm expecting to see with all of those modifications is going to be improving the engine's volumetric efficiency, particularly at high RPM. Obviously with the larger turbo it's going to be slower to spool up, so we're going to sacrifice some low RPM torque and some low RPM airflow. Hopefully what we're going to see though is in the higher RPM range that's going to just eclipse the old power figure. I asked Rene before how much power he wanted and his answer was maximum. So that's what we're going for. So we've just finished up with Rene's Golf, and like a lot of tuning projects I get involved with, didn't exactly go along without its share of little hurdles. Despite that we got a great result, but I'll just talk you through some of the challenges that I faced when we were on the dyno. First of all, as soon as I started running the engine, it was pretty obvious there was a misfire. Something was going wrong with the ignition system, and that was just under light load. So I wasn't even in boost, and I was only at maybe 2.5 to 3,000 RPM. So we had a quick look at the ignition system, found that Rene had left the spark plugs in his car over the whole of winter, and his car was running on C16 fuel last year. It's heavily leaded, and our own experience has been that this causes the spark plugs to corrode quite badly. We pulled the plugs out and sure enough they were looking pretty badly corroded. Rene didn't have a spare set of new plugs, which would have been the perfect result, so the only option available to us was to bead blast the plugs and clean them. We did that and it didn't really improve matters as much as I would have liked. So we started doing some light load runs and found that we're having a consistent miss up at around about 6,500 RPM. So it was so bad I couldn't actually run the engine past that. So we revisited the ignition system and had another look. This time around I actually noticed that the little screw tops on the spark plugs, on about 4 of the 6 spark plugs, were really loose. So that can cause conductivity problems between the ignition coil and the electrode in the plug itself. So hoping that that was the problem, we tightened those all up, put it back together, and sure enough we got a good clean run. So on wastegate spring pressure, which is the lowest boost the car can run, it was still running 2.4 bar. So that's 0.2 bar over what he had last season, and I was pretty blown away with the results. It did exactly what I was expecting. We picked up a lot of airflow from the increased volumetric efficiency in the top end. So that's given 1,015 wheel horsepower on 2.4 bar. So that's up from 750 wheel horsepower last season at 2.2 bar. As we'd expect, the engine is a little slower to come on boost with the bigger turbocharger, but he's still got plenty of usable rev range to go down the drag strip with. We tried winding the boost up a little bit further to 2.6 bar. The engine really showed it is going to respond well at that boost. It went up to 1,127 wheel horsepower, but with the extra boost the ignition system just wasn't up to it, and we had a misfire that we couldn't fix. So possibly just a brand new set of spark plugs correctly gapped will fix that, or we may be at the limit of the AEM CDI and just simply need some more ignition energy. Either way, 1,015 wheel horsepower is a huge improvement over where Rene was last season. He went 9.7 last season with 750 wheel horsepower, so we'll be hoping next weekend at the King of Germany, if the weather's good, everything goes well, hopefully we can nudge him closer to the 8-second mark.
For online tuning courses, visit learntotune.com.